It was an interesting moment for me at the time because I really wasn't seeking someone or anyone, I should say. I just hoped if I did meet someone that they would be a positive person to meet. Everything he was saying and doing was making me fall in love with him.
A lot of people quit going, that's just how it got to be. But she keeps on fighting and it takes a lot of guts. No justice, no peace!
You two are like two immature cartoon characters.
Objection. Where's any of this evidence of this?
Order.
I'm sanctioning you for $15,000.
I have a right to see my son.
This is all about a child. A poor boy born into a battle.
This is not justice! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No peace! No justice!
You're trying to have a judge removed.
I'll sanction her for thousands of dollars for coming to court.
How much money is Mr. K-Man and Mr. Gee paying you and your fellow judges to keep this woman away from a child?
I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I'm gonna survive, gotta survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I've gotta survive, gonna survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna survive. Even with your lies.
This is the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show. Dr. Meleeka Clary is a clinical psychologist, actress, director, model, and human rights activist. On this program, Dr. Meleeka guides you toward a more fulfilling life through the power of positive psychology. And now, please welcome your host, Dr. Meleeka Clary.
Welcome to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show, where we're coming live. Well, welcome. I have to say thank you, God, for getting me up this morning to be able to say I love you to all my children and be able to do the show. Well, let me tell you, I mean, it's been such a roller coaster for the last couple days. And, I have a guest, today. Will Garth is my guest today. He's been on the show before with me. He's my DP. He's my son from another father. I treat him, I treat him like that. Today was supposed to be about him and his comedian and, being comedian and all that other stuff that he does. He does a lot of things. But we have talked about yesterday about what we're going to dedicate this segment to. And I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to talk about some other things as well, because remember I told you that my show is about healing. It's about positive psychology and the things that we go on in life or what we deal with. And even the doctor has the challenges and, go through disappointments and grief and grieving. And I can say that, could I cancel the show? Yes, I could have canceled the show. I could have said, okay, not do the show. But I decided to do the show because I need you. Okay, I need to be able to express myself and to talk about things that had happened and what's going on, because that's how I started my platform, is to let you know what's going on behind the scenes. I know people say, oh, it's your business. But how do you heal? You don't hold it inside. You let it out. So as you know, I went to a gala, which I barely got there. And I want to say, because with the support of my friends and family, I was able to go. I was going to the luxury gala and I was glad. My mom, I had got her taken care of and had people to help her, and we got a female to help her at the last minute, but we had 3 guys, and including my son, and did a wonderful job trying to do the best they can for the 2 days that we were in California. Me and my daughters were in California to, accept my award. I was going to actually let them do it, but last minute we was able to navigate, and I was able to go and accept the Global Human Rights Award from the Lottery Gala. Well, it was a fun event, and I will share later with all the people and encountered. And I met a lot of interesting people. It was wonderful. Matter of fact, it was great. But on that day, I have found out that my sister, my oldest sister, Lariana, had passed away. Now, my sister, okay, she's one of my oldest sisters. She's 67 years old. It was a shock because she died, from my understanding, a heart attack, which I just spoke to her. Isn't it like that, y'all? I just spoke to her the week before. And when I say, because she was in a hospital, but she went to a rehab, just like I was telling you about my mom, a rehab, a nurse facility, just to get that in the groove of things. And from my understanding, she was in a groove because I spoke to her and she sounded really good. Like, okay, but she lost a lot of weight. My sister had her own sicknesses and challenges to deal with. And so she's always been, back and forth, kind of going through it. But this was a shock because, like I said, I just spoke to her and she sounded really good. And what I want to say about my sister, Laurie, she was, no, I hear my engineer. I hear you. I don't need to take a commercial. I'm going to get through this because I want to. But thank you. Much love. Thank you. I want people to understand. We go through the midst of the storm and tragedy and grief. And we are going to see people go before us. If God is, didn't call us to go. What I want to say about my sister is that she had a lot of challenges in her life. And things that I would never think that maybe could I go through, or would I be able to not have any type of depression or anything like that, because she was born with, it's like a ptosis. I forget exactly the name, but she had like bumps all over her. And I'm going to show you my sister, the one I'm talking about. If you could see, this is her. You might be able to see it, but that's my older sister, Laurie. Now, about her, the funny thing about her is that she never asks for anything. No matter what appearance or presentation about her, she never asked for help. Like, I would always help her and her kids, because even though she had a different presentation, it kind of made her feel insecure, and she allowed other people to take advantage of her because of certain things. But she dealt with it, with addictions and different things like that. Alcoholism, I will say that, because people that know her, they would know that she struggled with that. But that, to me, like I said, she handled that. She's 67. She always rallied. I was expecting her to rally. Didn't expect this like this. This is not one of those things that you like, okay, we know you don't take care of yourself. We know eventually this day will come. Yeah, I know that. But the thing about it, I wasn't expecting it on that day either. And that's something sometimes when you speak to somebody and they sound so good, you're like, why now? When we were all thinking before, but why now? She was, this is a shock, because she did sound good. She spoke to my mother, and my mother, this is my mother's first child. they're like 16 years apart. So I'm listening to both of these women on the phone. I like call like little old biddies because she looked like my mom, and they were saying to each other, "You take care of yourself," and my mom was kind of putting it together. Yeah, you take care of yourself. You sound good, and she did. But what I will say that God gives you, He gives you certain things that you might think that He's not hearing you, but He did give me this, and He gave my mother this. I was able to say the last words was, "I love you." How about that? How about that? I was able to say, "I love you." That was what I did. And that's something that I tell people over and over and over. You may not be raised to say "I love you" to each other, and it's kind of hard. Like, some people, they're not raised like that. You show it, but you don't always say it. And I wasn't raised like that. I raised my children like that. But I wasn't raised to always say it. My dad said it more than my mom. So I was able to say "I love you" to my dad before he passed away 35 years ago, which was a week before, which was like, wow, I just spoke to him. But I was able to get that. And I have more other times that God gave me that. So giving me that moment to be there at that time to see her wasn't what I got. What I got is that part, because she's in Boston. I'm in Indiana now. And I was able to do that. And I said to myself, when all this is going on, I didn't know how to accept it. So when you say, you see me on pictures, you see me and you look like I got it together. Well, at that point, I didn't accept it. I didn't even understand it. I was just going through the motions. I wanted to say something besides the family members that knew, but I just wanted to block it out for a minute and accept it. Because one thing about my sister, she would have been happy for what I was doing. Because when I turned to doctors, I was like, okay, she had my picture on her refrigerator. Like, I went there and I was like, nobody else's picture there. And she's got 7 children, mind you. Now they probably were everywhere else, but she had my doctorate picture right there. And I said, where'd you get this picture? She's like, I got it. She was so proud that she was there at my doctorate party. She was so proud of me and my accomplishment. I helped my sister over the years all the time. I helped with her children. I've helped in so many ways. Because, even having 7 children, you don't, have a lot of money. But then if you have your own issues going on, you do what you do. But the thing about her, she never asked. Even though she need, but she never asked. And I always help. If I was in town and I had more time than just usual, I would say, did anybody pick up Laurie? Or I'll send a car over to go get her. Somebody's going to get her. If I had to get her, I'll go. There's times I got in town and I'll go get her. Driving maybe 14, 15 hours. I'm going to go get her. She's going to break. She never asked. She never asked. And I think that's what I'm going to miss most. She just had that unconditional love. And I think that people took that for granted because she was soft. She was soft-spoken and very soft. More like you, just vulnerable all the time. And she allowed people to take advantage of her, even, down to her children, unfortunately. And I hope that her children could find peace within themselves. Because I don't know how many of them had got peace, but just one, with seeing her mom, their mom. And I say this to you, if you have loved ones whatever you're going through in life, you may want to make amends because you may never be able to get that chance to make that amends. Time's running out. And now you are probably at the woulda, shoulda, or coulda. Well, are we waiting for that moment? Because that's a woulda, shoulda, coulda moment. And I know you can find peace, but maybe you can change your ways and do better with your children or whoever is in your life, because learn from these experiences because they are touchy when you don't get to say the bye because you didn't know the bye was coming. And I didn't know the bye was coming. I just get used to saying I love you to my siblings because after my dad had died years ago, I know that life is lifing. And that might be the last word because I don't know when he's going to take me. He could take me right after the show. Now we know that, well, we already know anyway, that it's not guaranteed that you are going to outlive your children. Or yeah, or what is it? Outlive them. Yeah, it's not guaranteed that you're going to not die before them and your children, because my mom outlived one of her children. And that's the hardest part. So forgive me if I'm laying it on, because that's what it is. I had to put a show on. I guess you might say that's the actress in me, but that wasn't being an actress. That was being a person, a human being that didn't want to accept it. It happened. I didn't want to accept it. And I didn't know what else to do but to be in the moment of where I was. I didn't want to accept it. I guess I could have probably told more people, but it wouldn't did me anything because then I would have wanted to leave and then the flight, I went and got back. I wasn't like I'm going to be able to get there. She had already passed away. And so so you're there, you're floating. But once I got back, I had to deal with something that was very challenging for me. I had to tell my mother. And that part was hard because I didn't know how to tell somebody who's not mentally all there. But she remembered. She spoke to her daughter and she said, "She sound good." I had to tell her, when you spoke to her and she said, she loved you. Well, remember those words because that's all you're going to get. God gave us that. And I will say that he gave us that. And I can't say anything else about that. Now I'm going to go through all what we got to go through. But he gave us that. And I'm going to take that. So I know that she besides the addiction she had, she was a good person. I mean, my sister, she's a sweet person. She was just so gullible. And people just walked all over her because I think it's because of presentation. She was insecure about a lot of things. But she still was a fighter. That little, I want to say 5 feet. She was somebody you don't want to mess with still when she gets into it. She still was a good person. And she didn't want nothing from you. The only thing that she wanted is I wish she did have before she had passed on is more love from her own children. To understand how it really feels to be her. And she got that by one kid close to end, but I don't think she received it from all her kids. And that's sad for me to say that because these are my nephews and nieces and stuff. That's the worst thing that I didn't like the most. That's why, as an aunt, I always intervene. You're not gonna walk over her. You're not gonna do this. And these kids is not kids anymore. They're all adults. But I want to say this before I go on commercial. People, if you have children, I know we're driven, and this is to children too who are adults. We are driven with the love for my family too. So some people, they really live for that love, and that care and that attention. And when you don't show that, it doesn't help someone's lifespan either. You gotta show compassion. You gotta show compassion. And when you don't, you're basically walking them to the grave. And I think that we need to change that, people. I know we need to change it. I just don't know how much of a change is going to happen on my clock because it's ticking. But I'm going to talk more because, like I told you, this is not just a Dr. Meleeka Clary show. This is also about healing and positivity and being a human being. So, with that being said, I'm going to take a brief commercial and I'll be right back with my amazing guest, my son from another father. I have to say that. I'll be right back with the Dr. Meleeka Clary show. Don't you go nowhere, fam. We'll be right back.
Even in young individuals, older, communication, active listening, it helps. Because if a person is telling you something, try to listen to something they're saying. I have to say, when you touched about suicide too, people say, oh, well, that's the first time I heard or didn't know. Well, are we not communicating? Are we not talking?
Right.
Because how are
Right.
you not knowing what's going through in this individual's mind? Are we not asking another person? How can you be a wife or a husband and you're in the same home and not knowing what your wife or husband's going through? And then all of a sudden this person commits suicide. I think we need to change that. Where's the communication? Where is not seeking therapy? Is it our pride? Are we ashamed if we're having these thoughts? Because that's where the mental illness is developing even more, because people are not
Right.
sharing or caring enough, or it's a phase, because that's what I'm seeing, and that's across the board. It doesn't matter who
Absolutely.
you are. You could be a celebrity, you could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, you could be a server. It doesn't matter. But you're human. So to me, we need to start changing the communication process. We need to talk.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary show. We're coming live. Yes, we are. Like I said before I went on break, I have a brilliant, talented, I love him. He is more than just a comedian or an artist or a DP, a cinematography. He is a friend and he is a young man out there doing his thing. And I had to have him come back here because, like I said, I want to talk about his, comedian and that little different life. But he did say, let's have a chat. So come closer while I welcome Will Garth. Hey, sweetie.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing. You're looking good.
Thank you.
You're looking good. Son from another father. You like that one?
You look good too. I'm happy to be here today.
Yes. I'm glad you are here. I like it. Glad you made it back because I know you was doing some traveling.
Yeah.
And trying to get that done and everything like that. Well, we talked about, this segment. And I'm not sure if you remember when we went to the party, the 50th, my sister was there. Mm-hmm. My oldest sister. I think you ended up meeting all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you met all of my siblings, which they are right here. Yeah. Well, not all of them. I got two half sisters. I mean, half siblings. It's not actually in this one, but
Okay.
these are all by my mom, and that's my uncle Perry. You met him.
Okay.
Yeah, and this one is the one
On the far
yeah.
left.
Yes, yes, yep.
That's Laurie. Okay.
That's Laurie. You know, Laurie, like I said, I have to talk about her because I know we all have, you know, someone we lost. And sometimes it's just as sudden as that. And I know this is that's a challenge for me at that moment, but I think at that time we are not at acceptance. And I'm a doctor in clinical psychology, people, so you would think I have it. Snap that. No.
No. I think it's even harder for people of your caliber that, you know, that are normally the ones that we run to for the assistance. You're normally the ones that have all the answers. And when things like that happen, you know, you're kind of speechless, and you're lost for words because, you know, for one, even having to, you know, tell your mother about her oldest daughter, and for her, and putting in yourself in your mother's shoes and how she, you know, sees one of her daughters die before her.
Yeah.
That's a hard pill to swallow. And, you know, I thought about when we talked yesterday, and I thought about, you know, this segment that we're doing. It's, you know, it's very important. It's very important to me that we address certain things. And even though things may not have been directly related, I feel like I went through a spiritual thing myself, you know, with health and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, recently I decided to stop drinking alcohol, like completely, like not even a
Yes.
shot or a sip here and there. And I want to talk about that because
Yeah.
that actually led me into my comedy. It led me into my comedy. It helped me shift my gear into that, and I've just been feeling so much better since then. And, you know, I know you mentioned that your sister Laurie was an
Yeah.
alcoholic, and I feel like it's this will be a time for us to, you know, kind of talk about it as adults.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing funny about being an alcoholic other than the fact that, you know, it's just it keeps coming back. It's like one of those things you think you can get rid of. And you know, I'm blessed to say at the age of 37 that I defeated it. And you know, some people aren't as, you know, as fortunate or as lucky or as blessed, because it does require a lot of spiritual.
Yep.
It requires a lot of everything, you know. And people think that, you know, you do it for others, you do it for your kids or for your spouse. No, you really do it for yourself.
That's right.
You come in this world by yourself, and you're going to leave by yourself. There's no one that's going to be as close to you than yourself. You have to be your best friend. I learned that myself. I was on the road for a total of 34 hours.
Yes.
Just me, myself, and I in the car, you know,
That's right.
traveling to Texas, to South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I like traveling by myself. I can stop when I want, play whatever music I want. I can go as fast. You know, I don't have to. I can eat whenever. You know, it's just being in better control. But being out there for the first time and doing comedy, and also being sober, like everything is different now being sober compared to like going and doing things while drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, oh, you're just stumbling, because that's the thing. Like, there's different levels of alcoholism.
Yes.
I went to classes for it. You know, they make you, when you get in trouble, you go to classes for it. So I've had to do that before. So it's not nothing that I'm ashamed of. You know, you live in Indiana, there's all it is here to do is drink and party, and it just so happens that that's what we do. It's a social thing. But now, seeing the other side of it, I party less because parties really weren't that fun. You know, it's the drinking and the drinks that made it fun, you know. But we say, you know, one thing that we don't realize, the people that are alcoholics, they deal with deep trauma. They deal with problems with relationships. They deal with problems with their kids, their problems with their parents, things that they can't normally just talk about. And I feel like that was a big part of my issue. And I didn't know it. You know, I had to kind of figure it out. And when I first did my first show at the Helium back in January, you know, I told myself, I said, man, you got to really be messed up to just show up at a comedy show and be like, yeah, I think I'm funny. Let me get on stage and see what they.
Well, you know, I told you, I said, why don't you go to the Helium? And this is the one who does things that I tell him to do, people. I said,
y'all gotta listen.
Yeah, he said on the phone to me, and he was shooting an idea. He said, you know, I'm doing comedy or something. I said, why don't you go to the Healing? They have like open mic every Tuesday. And he went.
I kept going too. I've been going.
Yes. And you know, and I'm like really like good because I think that is therapeutic too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, comedy is not you if you could laugh at certain things, and sometimes people go through something, but it's therapeutic to open up and not hold it in.
Exactly. It feels good to say, I mean, the first time I went, everybody's in there. They're smoking weed, they're drinking alcohol, they're you know, they're just doing everything, you know, and I'm just like, I'm gonna just get some water. And then the other comics are like, you're not gonna pregame? I'm like, pregame for what? I'm like, what are we pregaming for? Like, I'm just gonna be myself. Like, why would I, you know, like, I said, I don't want to have to do all this stuff to be something. And then, oh, one day I don't have that stuff. Now I can't do it. So, yeah, I'm like, I'm just drinking water. And maybe I'll eat some sweets, you know, some gummy bears, something to keep me alert, you know, but it's never like nothing too crazy. So,
you know, I want to get into that. What you said is, you know, the new change. Yes. And we're going to take a brief commercial, but I want to talk about that because you've said some really interesting things about the new change and how that can change your behavior and how you look at other things. So on that note, we're going to take a brief commercial. We'll be right back with the handsome Will Garth. Do not go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Look at this huge group here. They look fantastic, especially this guy at the back here. Look at this. Look at this. Look, ta-da, ta-da. Oh! Get off my... Yeah, I was like, oh, get off my foot. Tell us about you guys.
They're from Boston. I'm from Indianapolis. We're here with Three Corners of Deception movie. Here's the director right here, Dr. Meleeka Clary. I'm Will Garth, the cinematographer. Our movie can be found on Amazon Prime. We have some of the actors and cast. We got Lance Lacconi, the promoter, executive producer. These are also her daughters, her sister, their friend. We're all here. We're all big family.
We are family. Wow.
Production manager, actress, all in the movie Three Corners Deception. Hello, promoter Lance Lacconi. Say hello. Hello.
He's the Godfather, right?
I know, the Godfather.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show. Well, we're coming live. We are still with the amazing Will Garth. Come on in here. You see how my DP, my engineer said, "Yeah, you look handsome in there. You a fly dog." And I said, "Doesn't he?" He was like ready for the play. That was what, a couple of years ago at that. And that's the same kind of gala I went to. Well, the interviews and all that didn't come out yet, but yes, and that was amazing for you. It was a great time. You really was shining there.
We had so much fun, and like,
oh my gosh, it was lovely.
And that's one of those events where, like, I look back at that event and it's like, how would I have done that without drinking? Let's say going back and doing that. Now, mind you, I remember every bit of that event because it was a very big part of my life and my career as a cinematographer. And I told myself, I said, hey, you know what? Have fun. You know, drink the sample tequilas, you know, talk to the girls. I mean, you're dressed like Michael Jackson. You might as well, you know, like everybody's looking at you anyway. So it's like, yeah. So for me, man, I can't imagine. I can, but I can't. You know, because what I do is now, like being sober or even being a comedian, I look back at those things and I say, well, what would I have done different? And I think I would have did a lot of things different. You know, I think I might have maybe landed some more, you know, connections than I did. Because in reality, everybody was just so stuck on you know, celebrating and stuff like that. I didn't realize that the room was full of creators and it was a room full of opportunities. You know, it was everyone was really supposed to perform. You know, you know, that would have been a time to like get out there and say something funny, you know, a dance or something. But yeah, I think that was definitely a milestone. I look at my award every day and I say, you know what? That was a milestone for me at that time. And
it was wonderful. It was, you know, you weren't that lit going on the red carpet. I'm trying to think maybe during, but I didn't see that. We were all like state of shock of what's going on.
Look, that's the thing. We function like that. I mean, I'm very, you know, no one would ever know.
I know that's kind of that too. But it was
one of those
still
things. You know, you didn't want to. You're right. You didn't want to get that messed up and then you know
interview and everything.
Miss your beat. You missed your beat. Really, you know, being on the red carpet and having to act.
You had some boundaries at that moment. But here's the thing about it: the change. When you said that I don't party that much and stuff, you know, I want people to understand, and even myself, is that, you know, even you stopped drinking, the socializing portion of it, of having a good time, you can still do that. It's just that it's a new change for you without, you know, that extra push. It's called a natural high.
Natural high, yeah. And so much better.
I have to say that because I've had that. I don't know how many times. I never really drank until, I mean, I don't know, it was some years back, but I would never have a drink. I would be on the dance floor because that wasn't where I wanted to be, at the bar. So me, I know a natural high does exist.
It does.
And I think that now you're like, I can be Will still without this, and you're learning that. So it's not that everybody else is doing it. That's okay. I'm still laughing. I'm still doing me. Now you're finding out a different you, or maybe it was there before you started drinking heavily. For what other reasons you may add it to that?
A lot of it is. I didn't even mention this earlier, but a lot of it is anxiety, depression, and there's other things that we don't know that we have. And now when I go in the bars or when I walk past people that are drinking, I like, these people are sick. Like the people that are really far gone, I say it to myself. I'm like, man, they're sick. They don't know they're sick. They don't. And then when they're sober, they don't know that they're sick. But in reality, in the head, there is something going on there, because when you actually get yourself to that point, you're killing yourself slowly, you know. And some of us, you know, take it better than others. There's some people that don't get affected by all. They go through their life, but the other people, it does affect health. It does cause liver failure, you know, all kidney, all types of different things that we don't know. And when we are not drinking, we're like, oh man, why do I feel like this? But that natural high, that's why I want to talk a little bit more. That natural high is it's something, it's like a euphoria. It's something that like if you're healthy, mind, body, soul, you can have a natural high. Now, mind you, this is how I feel. If you're not healthy, mind, body, soul, you can't have it. And a lot of things play into part with that, I believe. It's not just a straight shot. It could be relationships, it could be job, finances, all types of stress. And in order to have that natural high, you have to let that shit go. You have to let that stuff go. You have to kind of like put it in partitions and say, yes, this, that, and go from there. Because for me, when you worry about things and you let things eat you up that you really can't control, it puts you in that state of anxiety. It puts you in that state of depression. And in order for you to even deal with, what's going on, you feel like you have to have a drink or a smoke or whatever people do. So.
Yeah, sometimes you put more, you give a definition to what you're doing.
Yeah.
We are giving the meaning to it. And it does happen. I mean, I'm not the one to say I have not abused something, just to heal for that moment. But at the end of the day, it's still there.
Exactly.
And
me personally,
yeah,
not to cut you off, I don't want to give the wrong impression. Like I'm saying, like, oh, everybody should just stop. It's more so like we should all be going towards that natural high. And like I said, some people drink, some people smoke. It don't really matter what you do, as long as you have control over it. I think that's fine. But a lot of people wonder why they go into ruts. They wonder why they're not reaching their full potential. They wonder why cycles keep repeating themselves. In all actuality, a lot of those substances have an effect on that, because when you're not yourself or when you're in autopilot mode, you don't have control over what's going on, and you particularly will make mistakes. And when those mistakes you make can have like long-lasting career effects. And I myself, like, your driving record, that's an important thing. Like, you can miss out on jobs. You can never do a ride share job. Like, if you want to be an Uber or a Lyft driver, stuff like that, little stuff like that, that you don't even think about, that gets affected by it. But I say, like, with being a stand-up comedy, it's solely about having that natural high. Like, and to me, I've seen a lot of comics that get on, have a drink or smoke. That's cool. I'm not there yet. I haven't really felt like I'm pushed to do that. I could see maybe one day, but I actually don't see myself ever going back to even drinking. It's just something I don't think about. I see how it twists a lot of things. And after, at my age now, I feel like it's a good time to get out. It's kind of like let's say a person that gambles. You gamble for 30 years, you win some, you lose some, and then you finally see that day like, hey, I still have my house, I still have my car. I'm going to stop gambling while I'm ahead.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about alcohol. It's like, I'm alive. I haven't killed nobody. I don't plan on it. Everybody's still here. I say, I'll just get out while I can,
I think when you get to that point in your life, and you will hope that you can get to that point for others, you know what I mean? And sometime, if it's, we don't know, you're hoping that you can get to a point that you can change and try to control the situation before the end of the road. And that's something that you mentioned, and I want to highlight a little bit about that. But on that note, we're going to take a brief commercial. We'll be right back with handsome Will Garth. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Tell me a little bit about what you do as a clinical psychologist.
Well, I see clients regarding depression, bipolar, personality disorders, because we know we have many out there. Yes. So I help people deal with that and their families and everything like that.
And of course, mental health right now at the forefront, so important as people really start to kind of work on. I feel like we're gaining ground to understand that it is something that we can talk about, that we can seek help for.
Yes, it's been important. I think a lot of people didn't realize how important it is since the pandemic, but it's been important, just like physical, your medical condition. So yes, I've always thought it was, but I'm glad that we're getting help. And people are identifying it, because that's what's important. Many people wasn't identifying mental health issues. They just thought, oh, maybe you're having a bad day. No, that's labeled depression. If you're constantly having that bad day, every day you're waking up with that feeling, you need to seek help. You need to talk about it.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show. We're coming live. We are still with the amazing Will Garth. Come on in here, Will. All right.
All right.
You know, before we went on break, and we were talking about, of course, the change. But here's the thing about it: when people want to make that change, and you're able to make that change because you did, evidently, you're still here. So my thing is, I would have loved for my sister to make that change. You know, she ended up having a heart attack, but like I said, if you don't take care of yourself, that could have contributed. Okay. I don't want to say that was it, but I do know her situation, how she led in the rehab from the hospital to rehab was dehydration. So therefore, she picked that before anything else. So that's why I make the connections. But I don't judge people because you have an addiction. And I didn't judge my sister. I cared about her and I wanted her to stop. But as we talk about behaviors, you can't make someone do something. Even if I wanted to say you're gonna kill yourself eventually, they know the chances, but internally she went through a lot of things too. And her reasoning to do it was her own reason. You can't take it from her. She would have to release it. So when people have the opportunity to change something, and if you do have the opportunity, do it. I'm not judging you why you do what you do. I'm like you. I choose a different poison. And I say that because we all had some type of addictions. You know, it could be food, eating, smoking, drink. It could be anything. Drugs, it could be anything. You know, it could be NyQuil. I mean, somebody would say to me, "You're addicted to that NyQuil." I don't like NyQuil anymore. Dayquil? No, maybe. Only because I know I'm like this health fanatic when it comes to, well, I was out of town. I don't know who I was with. Let me take a little bit. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that too much of something could harm you. Yeah. But then I don't know what's going to take you out.
Exactly.
I don't know. But here's the precaution of it. If you're paying attention and trying to do better, what you're putting in your body, maybe. And that's all I'm saying, because, you know, some people might never drink and they might still have to go before you. And I do want to say this shout out to another friend of mine that we just lost to, Mark Harrison from 98.1. You remember him from he was at the party too, the 50th party. Yeah. I know Marvin Neal was. He's the one that promoted my party, but it was his radio show. And we lost him for a battle of cancer. Wow. Which just found out. Well, I've seen it on Facebook. And I realized it, but it must happen within the week because he was on. So a battle, you know, he battled this for a while and he was a good soul. Yeah. So may his life be remembered, because he was a good person. Definitely. And, you know, unfortunately, God had other plans for this angel that come to him, because when he was here, he did what he had to do. He put me on the show too. You know, in Boston, you see him, Mark Harris. Yep. And I would miss him. He's one of my friends, and he was very a good soul, and love to his family, because we just missed one. And but the memory we always will remember, you know. So kudos to you, Mark Harris. I do want to say that because you know, these things, people, you know, have sicknesses as you get older. We don't know what we're going to come down with. Yeah. That's the thing, is you get older, you start seeing people go. It's starting to come more clear. You know, in your 20s, you didn't see this. Everybody's still running and gutting. Now you're seeing goodbye.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's difficult. It's challenging.
I totally agree with you 1,000% when you say, oh, it may not be out, it may be something else. You know, like there's 1,000 other things that people are addicted to. I mean, even just breathing the air, there are microplastics in the air that will give us cancer, or eventually will, take us through there. So it's like like drinking is just something that adds a higher probability on it, because it's like, oh, and when you're doing that, it's like you don't have control because this and that, and it's kind of like, it's like, life is like already random as it is. You're rolling the dice. You don't know what you're gonna get. We live in Indiana. Yesterday, Monday, it was snowing.
Was it?
Other
I
day,
got back. It was snowing.
It's warm today. I don't know. We don't know what we're gonna get.
No, we don't.
And it's kind of like I had an experience when I went out of town. I stopped at a frat brothers, friends of mine, to kind of get back to the comedy thing, and there was a couple other of my frat brothers there. Man, they had a refrigerator chop shop going on, man. They were taking apart refrigerators and putting. And I said, "What are y'all doing with all these refrigerators?" I said, "What is this?" I said, "I'm gonna have to use this material for something funny." And they said, "Yeah, we're gonna paint the refrigerators." I said, "What?" They said, "Yeah, we're gonna paint them." I said, "Okay. Well, what are you painting them for?" They said, "Yeah, we're going to use them as trophies and building blocks and stuff." And I sat there and I just looked and I said, "You know what? Yeah, I'll have to get back to you guys on that." And it's like you never know what you're gonna see when in life, and that's what the great thing about life is. Everything is like a random number. Just going outside. Like, I'm a people watcher. I notice a lot of homeless or people that people that are less fortunate when they walk through the neighborhoods or downtown. I live really close to downtown, so I run into them every day. And the funny thing that I say to myself when I see one of them or one of them, and I already know they're going to come and ask me for a dollar. So you know what I do? I ask them for a dollar first. I figured it out. Whenever I see a homeless person or someone that looks like they're gonna ask me for something, I just be like, "Hey, you got a dollar?" I hit them with that, and then they'll be like, and then they'll just be like, and it's like the Spider-Man meme. We're both just there, like, and then sometimes I'll just give them a dollar anyway. But then I'll ask them for a dollar. I say, "Hey, do you have a dollar now?" So it's just the way you can make something funny out of everything. And some people will say, "Oh, well, why would you play with them like that?" Like, no, I'm not playing with them. They might have more money than me. They better ask
you know what? and that's interesting you say that, because I remember and I was in Boston, and I will always remember this. And don't get me wrong, I'll give people, but I think my thing, what I do when I see somebody ask for money, I always be like, "Oh, are you hungry?" And I'll take them to go get something to eat, because they're either at the gas station or in front of McDonald's or something like that. Well, this one time I said that, and I don't want that. I said, "Wait a minute, you hungry? I can get you. We can go." I don't want that. I'm good.
Beggars can't be
I'm
choosers.
good. I'm good. And it wasn't even more than one time. It was another time too. I wouldn't say 3 times I had this encounter. And then one that was in Boston. Actually, I had one out here too. And I was like, I think this person actually said, when I said, "Oh, I can go get you something to eat," and he's like, "No, I don't want it." No, and he said, "You know what?" And he turned around and went around the corner and had a bag of groceries and said, "See, I'm good." And I'm looking at him, I can't, I would never forget that. He said, "I'm good." I was like,
man.
"You good?" He went and picked up the bag of groceries and said, "I'm good." I was like, wow. I mean, I don't know. Some people is out there,
Well, one thing you got to realize is homeless people or less fortunate people, they're people too, and they have preferences. They might want.
They do.
They might want non-fat milk. They might want soy milk. They might say, "Hey," you need some milk. No, I need soy milk. I already have milk. And it's like, that's what I'm saying. These are bougie. We're living in a whole different time now. 2026, there are bougie homeless people. They want you to take them to farmers market. Yeah, they want that. You know what? That's how they got homeless in the first place. They weren't budgeting right. they were getting all the expensive stuff, and then they can't afford it now. So, they're homeless, and they need specific things. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but we all have to, look at things like that. And it's
You
just,
know what's interesting that you said that, you have the bougie ones. And believe me, people, if you're hearing him, you understand he's not talking about the homeless people who actually is homeless, the people who is the ones who take advantage of the system.
Exactly.
And take advantage of people. Let's make that very clear,
very
because
clear.
as I known, and homeless people don't ask. I don't there's people that are homeless don't ask. And they may not be there. They're ones that get into the shelters on time. And they need to get that step up. I've worked in this for a very long time. I mean, I've been worked in shelter homes like over, a lot of years. And I've encountered so many different people who are homeless and really homeless. But they don't ask. They're trying to get back on track. So there's different people doing different things. So when people don't give to people that's there Monday through Friday, you're kind of wondering, are you homeless or is this a job for you?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and I'm not trying to judge nobody. And really, when I see you, I don't judge you. I still get the money. I just be like, here you go. But I always ask, do you want something to eat? I can go get you something. I'd rather feed you, because look in the situation, people rather do that than eat.
Yeah.
That's a problem with that.
You can always tell the difference between real, authentic people. Like for me, I was just in South by Southwest in Texas. They had a comedy club right across from where we had our event. It was called Comedy Monsters. And me personally have been in comedy clubs. I know what comics look like, whether they're white, black, Mexican, anything. And I walk past the club and I see a group of people just sitting out there, and I'm with my friends and they don't know this. I say to the comics, I say, hey, you guys are the comedians, aren't you? And they say, yeah. And they said, how can you tell? He said, and I said, well, I'm one of you guys, so I know that look when you're waiting to be funny. You're very quiet. You're very conservative. You don't want to eat anything. You don't want to do too much. You're saving all of your funny for the stage.
And I'm glad you said that. I know we're running out of time, Will, and it's always a pleasure to have you. If people was to want to support you, how do they find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram and YouTube. My Instagram is KOMPUT underscore, or actually KOMPUTER underscore LUV. That's computer underscore love. I have all my content there. And then also my YouTube channel is Computer Love 3. I have all music, comedy, stand-up, all that great stuff. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on here, promote myself. And I will be at the Helium open mic this Tuesday, 3/24. I'll catch you guys there if you make it. Starts at 8 p.m.
Oh, that is wonderful. All right, you heard it on the Dr. Meleeka Clary show. I want you to go out there and support him and share. And, just see what he's all about. He is a funny character. He really is. And he's a good artist and he's a good person too. So if you want to laugh, go on there and check it out, the Helium this Tuesday. Thank you, Will. And thank you for understanding that I need to get this out.
Anytime.
Much love. Love you. Thank you so much.
Love
again.
you too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And you're looking for the doctor, you know where to find me, people. Hey, I'm on Fire TV and Roku TV now too. I love that. I love that. I'm here to share this. This message was strong for me today. I lost one of my siblings, and that's hard. I love all my siblings. And that's what I wanted to let you know. Lariana, I love you. And I'm going to miss you dearly. And I want everybody in the world to know that's my girl. That's my sister. That's my sister. And I'll miss you. I will miss you dearly. But I will carry on and do that little funny walk that you like to do. and tell people, I still got it. That's her best word. I still got it. Yeah, she did. She still got it. So until we meet again, people, you know how to find me. I'm not hiding. I love you. I want you to enjoy the rest of the day and a weekend to come. May God bless you. And please take care of yourself. And no one say I love you. I love you enough to do this show for you too. So thank you again to all my fans too. Thank you. Keep on. May God bless you. And thank you again for tuning into the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show. Take care.